Hello, everyone, and welcome to WKDW 97.5 FM, real community radio coming out of the city of Northport from the Bishop West Real Estate Tower. Today, you are listening to my show, Sleuthing, Eye-Opening Tales of the Past. This is a series I'm doing with my co-host, who I'll bring up on the screen, Joan Morgan, about a timeline history of the city of Northport, which has its 100th year celebration for it being named a city. Is that no the sixth?
No, Sarasota. This is Sarasota County breaking away.
Okay, Sarasota County has its 100th year. When the counties, and if people don't know the history of the counties here, 1921. Many counties were formed at that time out of the Manatee. We were originally St. Johns County. There was only 2 counties in the state. At one time, it got broken down. And then when we were DeSoto County and Charlotte County at that time, and Sarasota County was too. And then it ended up breaking into all these different counties, and Sarasota, Charlotte County, Glades, DeSoto became a smaller county, and there's Manatee County, and I don't have all my history in front of me for that, and I don't want to make a mistake and say the wrong thing. But Joan, here we are. It's 2021, but we're doing the timeline, and this is our 11th show, Joan.
Oh, wow.
The timeline, and we've been making it through. Well, we thought we'd make it through 1 year, and we did last time, and the time before that for show number 9, we made it through 2 years. So for our listening audience too, the radio station now has a way to set up archives. So we're going to be starting putting some of these timelines up in the archives at the radio station, and give me about a month to get that done because I'm going to be gone on vacation. So, Joan, enough about me, enough about all of this. What's been going on with you? Because I see you have a City of Northport hat on.
See, today we have show and tell. Okay, so when we get to the our bicentennial, and it's kind of cool because this is a centennial for the county, and there is a book and the author of that book is Castle, and it's a really good book about Sarasota County. So anyone can find it. I'm sure it's on the bookshelves, just like we have our own book, obviously, Out of the Wilderness by Marshall Grove. So anyway, we've got a lot of good things here today, and a lot of show and tell items.
A lot of show and tell. And next time, the next show that'll be in my home to do, I do have the book Out of the Wilderness. I can show what that looks like, and I can
show you right now.
Okay. And while Joan is doing that, looking for that book, remember with history is so important for the people that are left behind, because we learn from history, and history makes mistakes back in history, and we should learn and move forward from that. But what happens is we forget about our history and we repeat some of the same mistakes that were made in the past. So Joan, show and tell, show me that.
Okay. First of all, a couple things from 2008. Okay, we talked about the last segment. We talked about MDA being the trophy race. And I want to show you how unbelievable the trophies were. John Zagner-Belney and Christine Zagner-Belney and of course, Old World. Look at the size of these trophies.
Wow.
Yeah, these are Ed and I got this in 2005 for being the ones on the 5K. Obviously, if I was to run it right now, they wouldn't give me any trophy, that's for sure. They'd be probably trying to pick me up off the road. But anyway, so that's one show and tell. And also we should talk about Denise Amber Lee. And I mentioned the cookbook that was written in her honor by her mother and her mother-in-law. Well, here's a copy of that cookbook, Heavenly Recipes, because Denise loved to cook. And here are her two boys, Adam and Noah, and they are pictured on each page, each segment. Just beautiful young boys that lost their mother. That tragedy was a tragedy of tragedies, and the whole city
Oh,
mourned.
so adorable. Thank you for sharing that, Joan, because
Yes.
I had never seen that cookbook.
Look at, I mean, aren't they? They're so cute.
Wow.
And this was done by her mother and her mother-in-law together, because Denise loved cooking, and there's not enough to say about how sad it was. But now we're on to 2009, and we're going to start with a school. Atwater Elementary was opened, and Kirk Hutchinson became the first principal. Now, Kirk originally, where we saw him in town, was not as the principal of the new school, but at Lamarck, where he was the vice principal. So we got some training and knew how to, manage a school and all this stuff, because they like you to be a vice principal first to learn some of the in and outs. And then he became the principal. He did a great job. And that school took the pressure off Toledo Blade, which was just so overcrowded that we said the last time a lot of those students went to Woodland Middle School, even though they were still in grade school, because we had no place to house them. And now with Atwater opening on that side of Toledo Blade, now we have Atwater, we have Toledo Blade, and we have Woodland Middle School. And as I say, that side of Toledo Blade, we really need an activity center and more stuff there, but that's another day. All right, 2009, we saw New Hope Church move from, it was at Lamarck Elementary, and it moved to Biscayne, 5600 Biscayne, where it now is. And that was the start of a lot of things. And that was the start of the car ministry, where widows and single women could get their car lube oil filter for free. And Gary Stouch was the one that started that program. And Gary died about a year ago of pancreatic cancer, a great man. And he did a couple things. First of all, not just the car ministry, but also making sure that everyone was able to keep their boats in their driveway and not have to, store them in some marina someplace, because a lot of people built in Northport because they wanted the luxury of having their boat there. And so, he headed that committee, and he worked hard on that. And he was a great one at the Lamarck 5K. He did a lot of things. I mean, Gary was one of those. They gave him the key to the city before he died because of a lot of the things, and made a proclamation to him. So like to mention the heroes while we can and while they fit in history. The food pantry was started there, and also the free Thanksgiving dinners, which became unbelievably large before COVID. All right. And it started out at the Scout House, now named the Wanda and Bud Cortez Scout House, built by Kiwanis. And Bud and Wanda certainly helped build that Scout House, and now it's named for them. But that's where we had the first free Thanksgiving dinners. And it turned out that just before COVID, not only was New Hope being used, all right, but we also had churches down in Port Charlotte, Englewood, Arcadia also took part in it. We're giving out like 5,000 meals. After COVID, things are different. Things are different, and things are now starting to come back into place. And now the Awakened Church has taken a lot of the food pantry and a lot of those items and doing that stuff. So we're very pleased with that. All right, 2009, folks, we got to talk about our bicentennial. There are so many aspects to the bicentennial, and we are going to mention them today. And that's why the hat, see, Marie, I'm got a hat now, tell you to do. And this is a visor, and this was to our bicentennial, and my shirt too, see, bicentennial, 50th anniversary, and this is what the committee could wear. Not just our shirt, but the shirts and the t-shirts that we had for the town. Ta-da!
Show and tell today.
Yes, this is show and tell day. Okay.
Yay.
And not only do we have this which was designed in Northport, but we have yesterday's dreams, which is what we were, today's reality, tomorrow's promise. And if that doesn't fit Northport, because who knows what's going to be? Who knows what's going to be 10 years from now? Westport and Welland Park. I mean, whoa, it's just this area is going to explode. But let's talk about the bicentennial. Let's not get off right away. Okay, People for Trees, what did they do? They put 50 trees at every school to celebrate the 50th. Okay, People for Trees, Alice White being the head of it, and a lot of other people that work so hard. They wanted everyone to be part, all the schools to be part. And so that's what they did. They donated 50 trees and planted them at each one of the schools. Vision Northport created its base plan, even though they weren't able to bring everything through. But a lot of times the plan goes through. A lot of parts of the plan goes through. A lot of the vision that they saw, a lot of the committees and all this kind of stuff. Although the funding wasn't really there for them to do everything, they realized they certainly were a big part of the vision. We had 813 miles of roads at that time in Northport, and we had 81 miles of canals, okay? And in the video, which was just written to commemorate for the 100th anniversary of Sarasota, it talks a lot about those canals. Okay, what else did we do that year? There's a couple things we have to mention, and one, which you see every place, is Northport's motto. And what is it? Achieve anything. It is so important, and it is so used everywhere you go. You see it on all the vehicles for Northport. And why is achieve anything? Now, I was on that committee. I'm very proud to be on that committee. Aaron Bryce was the head of that committee. And Aaron Bryce did a lot of things in Northport. She was very much there for the 50th, worked very hard for all sorts of things. She was community outreach. And let me tell you something, there's a lot of things in Northport that have her label on it. Okay. We've lost her now to bigger and better things, maybe. But on the other hand, let me tell you something, she really placed her part in our history. Okay, and achieve anything. Why that motto? Because that's what Northport was. It is. Okay, as we've said before, we're not the baby anymore. I'd say we're a young adult. Okay, we're certainly not an old man or old woman right now. We're kind of like the young adult in growth. All right, because we have some of the basics. We certainly have a lot more to go. We're certainly still working to get everything together and see our potential, but we are definitely taking our wings. Number one in population, number one in size. So you can't say we're not important. We're at the top of the list now. Achieve anything. Anything can be yours. As we've said before, and I've said so many times, if you're from New York City, unless you have $4 billion or $40 billion, you're not going to change much. Okay. In Northport, it doesn't take a penny to make changes happen. It takes willpower. It takes work. It takes people seeing your vision. It takes stubbornness to make it happen. It takes a vision, but everything in Northport is not based on money. Okay. Obviously, it takes money to build buildings and all this stuff and all this kind of stuff. But on the other hand, a lot of the people who we've been talking about right along, and we're certainly going to talk about today, okay, a lot of those people, we are not celebrating because of the money that they put into building things in Northport, but into the manpower, the vision, the caring, the thought, and everything else. And some of the people, because we're talking about the 50th anniversary today, so we're going to talk about the people on that committee. But remember our motto, achieve anything. You see it, because it's still yours to develop. It's still yours to make. Northport can still be the city that your name is on. Maybe your statue. Maybe we'll do statue someday and your statue will be here, whatever. But you certainly can make a difference. So that was a really important committee. Okay, here's some of the people that were on our 50th committee. All right, and I know you can't see them all, but this is what it says. It was the 50th committee. Now, this isn't all the people that were on the committee. I'm not going to mention all of them. I'm not just going to go from a script, but I'm going to tell you about some of the main people that were on this committee. Not to, this committee lasted a couple years. This wasn't just a, put it together, throw it together thing. This thing went on for a few years. We really worked and knew that this 50th was coming about, and we were going to do it up big time. We had our new city hall. We had our new fire department. We had our new police station. Okay. We had our new city center, and this 50th was going to be big, and it was big. Okay. How big was it? Well, first of all, you can read about it in the book, Out of the Wilderness. Okay. By Marshall Grove. Marshall Grove worked really hard on this book. Okay. We had Richard Lockhart was the one that really wanted to see a book put together. And he called me in and asked me if I wanted to write it. I said, no. Asked Gene Matthews. He said, no. And so kind of felt like needed to help Marshall, or at least be there for him. And it was wonderful because he went on any interview I set up, including in our house. And he was really not just there to get his facts and get out of there, but to learn the history. And I feel like talking with Marshall, the part that he almost liked the most was the prehistoric and all the stuff with Sonny Cochran and all of War Mineral Springs. He was fascinated with that. Fireplace that we have, that skulls, and artifacts, that was fascinating to him. But what he did, and I got to give him credit because I would have done it differently. It's a good thing I didn't write the book because you wouldn't have liked it. Okay. Because basically I was kind of like a one-sided person at the time. I was, quite a bit younger when we first came here. And when I was a commissioner, I came here at 27 and two little babies. And my husband and I wanted to see things for the kids. I mean, we were pushing for the kids, and we had those that wanted to push for just have it as a senior citizen center, like the administration that was on board when we got here. Okay. So we had this kind of battle. And it was kind of like, they wanted to keep this, and General Development kind of wanted to keep this as a senior citizen center. And we said, no, kids belong here. Kids should be here, and we need to provide for the kids. Okay. You need someone to cut your lawn because you can't do it anymore. You need somebody, whatever, you need your services, you need young people, and kids need things. Okay. So this was the battle. Now, Marshall Grove was above the battle. Okay. Marshall Grove did not do editorials on each page. All right. Marshall Grove wanted to tell the whole story as various groups saw it, but not just get into the political fray that I kind of liked. Okay. And I was kind of part of because we were the head of the Let's See It for the Kids group. All right. And now we certainly have that going on, and certainly kids are welcome in Northport, and certainly kids are a big part of Northport. But we had to prove they had a right to exist. And a lot of people who had young children here at the time, two things happened. Either the neighbors, they loved them, and it was kind of like they missed their grandkids who were up north, and they wanted to cuddle them. And luckily my kids had that. I used to say to them when they went to see a neighbor, do not take anything, because she'll hand you your whole jewelry box. I mean, she just loved kids, and she missed her grandkids. And my parents were here too on the other side, so they did have their grandparents. Other kids, and this happened many places, the kids were not wanted on their streets. And if they made noise, or they did this or did that, let's call the cops on them and all this kind of stuff. And it really wasn't very friendly. Okay. I am sorry to tell you that it wasn't very friendly. So you had the two kinds. But Marshall Grove did not get into that political fray. He wanted to write the story of the growth of Northport and show the various things, and was very, very kind to both sides, although I'm sure he saw people kind of like going for their own side. So we always got to give credit. And he just recently passed away, and the city's going to do a proclamation to him, and they should. And he was a great man. I mean, not only did he write this book, he was with the Friends of the Library. He was the editor of the Northport News. He was a president of the New Kiwanis. You know, he was in all the groups doing a lot of the stuff and cared about Northport. You know, we are very honored that we had him. Some other things we had for the bicentennial. Okay, look at this cup. Gotta have a cup. Okay, every cup and everything had our motto on it. And we had limited edition, 50th anniversary, 1959 to 2009. Yesterday's dream, tomorrow's reality. Today's realities, tomorrow's promise. There were a lot of these that were sold, and this is how we made money to finance a lot of stuff on the bicentennial.
Joan,
Yes.
who designed that logo? I really like it. Who designed that?
Who signed it?
No, designed it.
I don't know. And actually, I'm going to tell you something. I don't know, because we worked on so many designs and all this kind of stuff. And actually, I've tried to look up, not just for our show today, but I have lost the name of the person that originally designed it. But we had a contest in Northport, you know, they did a good job. So that's one of the things that is somewhere in history, but I do not have those names. There was one that did the, you know, that did the slogan and the logo. So, okay. Yeah. And then if we find it out, I want to put it on our show, because they certainly deserve the credit. Some of the people that were involved in the bicentennial, our first chairman was Wendy Namack. Okay. And Wendy Namack wasn't our chairman all the way through, but she did a lot. Believe me, she put a lot of time and effort into it. And not only did she do that, because, you know, everyone had so many different hats that they had to use and wear and do, because this wasn't just, you know, just a simple thing. Here it is. Here's what you do. Dot the I's, cross the T's, and let's get out of this committee. So anyway, Wendy Namack was the head of it. And I'm going to tell you later on about the essay contest. She made up all the certificates for all the kids at the schools. Okay, so you're saying, oh yeah, certificate. No, 587 of them. Okay, so we're talking about a lot of ink, which she paid for from her machine, and a lot of time and effort and everything else. So, you know, every single month we were honoring a different school, and, you know, she did all of those. Karen Arlington took over after Wendy and completed the time for being chairman of the committee. And Karen, I mean, I don't know, I'm sure most of you out there know Karen. Karen's been involved in a lot of things. Karen has done a lot. Karen cares about the kids. Karen has been involved in all sorts of programs throughout Northport, continues to be, very much stands up for the employees, getting a fair deal and getting a good employment in Northport. Yes. Okay. All right. Okay. So, you know, Karen Arlington certainly needs our congratulations. One thing I didn't have, and I try to find, actually, I gave it to the last one that I had, was the calendar, which was very, very good. And I gave it to the committee who put together the video about our centennial, and I haven't gotten it back. And Dave Garofalo is the one that headed that. Now, for a little while, he was also the head of our committee for the 50th, but that's when he started running for office. So therefore, he had to resign from the committee. But he put together that calendar. And let me tell you something. If you have a copy of that calendar, please keep it. It was so comprehensive. It would have all the schools on one page and show pictures of them, and then the collage and all the different housing areas and all. Very, very well done. Okay, another thing, Daria Tomanatsky, here's the cookbook. All right, and she was not the only one working on this, but she was one of the main ones that worked on this. And believe me, Daria, if you know her, Daria Tomanatsky, she has done so much for the Ukrainian community. I mean, another person who in Northport is constantly working year after year, decade after decade, to do what she can. And she has done a lot, as I say, with the Ukrainian committee. And she certainly has been a big part of the bicentennial.
No,
And
are we able, Joan, are we able to still buy these cookbooks? You're showing that one, and then you're also showing the one for Denise Amber Lee's family had put this cookbook together. I can look it up on Amazon.
I know you can still buy from City Hall Out of the Wilderness.
I know
Okay.
that. Yes.
Okay. This one here, in fact, you better snatch it up because frankly, there's not that many left. And believe me, you're going to want this as a treasure for your family. The Denise Amber Lee cookbook and the one that the committee wrote, A Taste of Northport. I don't think they are in print anymore. And I don't know if there's any copies anymore. Okay. I really kind of doubt that because if so, I know the one that Taste of Northport would be at City Hall and it's not. So I'm assuming that that is not something you can get a hold of anymore.
I'll research while you're talking.
Go for it. Go for it. See, that's history. You gotta.
Yeah.
Okay. Mark and Linda Yates. They were a very big part, and this is the first time we ever heard of Linda Yates in Northport, and they became a very big part of the committee. Mark is the one that put together all the stuff, the cups, the T-shirts and everything else, the companies and all this stuff, and brought them all together. But not only that, okay, that's what he got paid for. But now what did he do? He was there all the time helping, lifting the stuff, going and getting it, bringing it back, all the things that he wasn't being paid for. And he wasn't truly a part of the committee. He just did this because he cared. Bill Clowney was their head of the parade. We had him as the head of the parade that we had, which was just unbelievable. And Mark did not want to see Bill because he was getting older and he didn't want to see him carrying everything around. So that's why Mark was there to help him at every step of the way. And Linda Yates was the designer of everything else. And where I first met Linda, because obviously she's been a commissioner and she really cared about Northport. But Linda, back at the bicentennial, I mean, I can remember typing things up 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'd send it to Linda. 5 minutes later, I'd have an answer back from Linda, and we'd go back and forth, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, finally, it'd say, go to bed. But she was right there all the time. I don't care what time of the night and day you sent her something. There was a response back within 5 minutes. It was just unbelievable. Helen Marchese, because we all know her. She is such a, right now, Helen needs to be celebrated for what she's doing at the Churchill Education Center, the senior center. Because if it wasn't for Helen making sure that stays open and making sure they have the place to play cards and making sure they have a place for yoga and everything else there and volunteering her own time constantly and her daughter's time, I don't know if that'd be open, but she was a big part of this committee. She's been on Parks and Rec. You know, as I say, all these people were not just on one single item, but they were there for many things and help with many things. Gina Coral helped with set up our billboards and that we had almost like a Christmas lane. But anyway, we had one for the bicentennial and to make the designs for all that kind of stuff. And as you know, if you work with any of that stuff, that doesn't happen overnight either. I mean, that's a lot of time and effort and everything else, and where you're going to store them and where you're going to get the materials from and when you're going to put them up and when you're going to take them down and all this stuff. So she did it. But everyone was so cooperative. Okay. We have a time capsule. The time capsule is down by the flagpole. The circular part, now it's going to be by the Florida Cancer Center. And the time capsule for the 50th is down there. And it should be opened. It should be open when we get to our 100th anniversary, which will be in 2059, June 18th, 2059. I hope I'm there for it. I don't know, but anyway, that's the way it goes. So, the other things we did, we had, We had guidebooks for a lot of the things we did. And these are all the kind of things that Linda Yates, basically, she put a lot of this stuff together. And we had the Northport Games. All right. The Northport Games was on April 4th, 2009. And we had all sorts of things. We had a lot of them were simple, but they were fun. Okay. Not $1 million to set them up. Sidewalk chalk painting, 50 and 100-yard dashes. Forever Fit, organized by Minnie Ford, who was the senior fitness activities director. You had dancing exercise. We had bike clinic, which was done by Coastal Cruisers. Coastal Cruisers is still a very important part of Northport. Every Thursday, if you go over by, even though it's not being used as a pool area anymore, but if you go over by Sam Shea Post Drive, or the back part where we used to be able to park for the pool that used to be there over on Greenwood, you will see all the cars parked there for the Coastal Cruisers. I was a member of that for years. They were better than I was. Okay. I mean, let me tell you something. They are so, so great. And I was the first time I went there. Okay. I went there in a bike that there's not the kind of bike that they had. All right. Didn't have a water bottle. All right. Didn't have a visor on or anything else. Had long pants on. And of course, they wore shorts because you didn't want to get them in your bicycle spokes. And we're going up the road and I was way behind them very quickly. And then I finally said, I got an idea. Why don't you guys just continue on? And when you go have coffee later on, you can just sit there and laugh about me. I eventually got there and got with them. And there's just some wonderful, wonderful people in Coastal Cruisers. And let me tell you, the Coastal Cruisers have done things like ride from here to St. Augustine. Okay. Oh, yeah. They do 25 miles. They have 3 groups. They have the slow, the medium, and the fast. And they do about 25 miles on 3 different bike tracks. They do a great job. And if you're interested, you can look them up because they're still a very viable organization, or see them Thursday morning. Just go back by Sam Chafo's or back on Greenwood and go see the parking behind the fire station there. And you will see them and you can talk to them. They're a great, great group. Okay. We also had softball. We had volleyball. Milko Orashevsky was the one that took care of that. And we had jump rope competition, skateboard competition, hula hoop competition, and a swimming competition in the YMCA pool that was then there. And Emily Coral and I, because they didn't have any in our age group, so Emily Coral and I decided to, be there so they could have someone in that age group. So we jumped in to swim. We were laughing so hard. We met each other at the bottom of the pool and could have died because we couldn't stop laughing. So we couldn't make it back up. Honestly, guys, probably the closest I've come to dying so far. But I mean, we were laughing so hard and we couldn't stop and we were pathetic, but it was fun. I mean, it was just a fun day. And we had ribbons that we gave to people. And we had a lot of people there. I mean, we had just about everybody there. Okay, some other things that we had in Northport. We had a coloring and an essay contest. All right, now this coloring and essay contest, as I said before, Wendy Namack made up 587 certificates. Well, where did they go to? Every school, including the charter school, imagine, okay? And what we had K through 3, what we did is we had a coloring contest, and this is the design, of course, that they colored. But of course, it wasn't colored for them, And this is the design that they colored. And the top 20 in each grade, all right, received a shirt. All right, we gave out, as we say, we not only gave out the certificates, but everyone involved got one of these shirts. And, that was a really big honor. And not only that, the coloring contest, what we did every single week, we put up a different school in City Hall. We put up all the people, all the kids that colored. And so the downstairs, as you walk in and you have the utilities on the one side, and you used to have the planning in the back, and that they were all the pictures of the kids in the coloring contest. So, some of them, and we told them, bring your parents there, show off your picture, because this is a proud moment. For the other grades, third grade up, we had an essay contest, and it was what Northport means to me. All right. And this essay contest, the top 20 in each group, and how we judge these, I'm very, very proud of, because we got a group of 50 people together at the library. Nobody had every single paper, the name, and the school even was taken off of it. All right. So there was no one saying, oh, my granddaughter wrote that. All right. And we put it through. Every single paper was read by 4 different people. Okay. And then we put them together. And if there was challenges that if people didn't think that these were the top ones and all this kind of stuff, then we had, just like you have on your AT test, and that you had a different group that would read through them and decide. So it was very fairly done. And of course, if you're going to have 50 people together, and if you're going to have them in a group and they're going to be judging all day, what do you need? Abby's Donuts. Okay. Because Abby's Donuts gave to everybody. All right. So we had Abby's Donuts for everybody. It kept them awake because they're eating sugar, and it kept them going. And they did a great job. So grades 3 through 12, the first, second, and third in each grade level, all right, not only got the shirt and the certificate, but first place got a $300 bond, second place got a $200 bond, and first place got a $100 bond. All right. And they were all from SunTrust Bank. Not that SunTrust Bank paid for them all. Okay. But on the other hand, SunTrust Bank did all the bank work to get these bonds out. And some of this was paid for by the selling of the shirts and the selling of the mugs and the selling of the calendar and the cookbook and all of this kind of stuff. So it was a real community effort. Okay. We had a 50th anniversary reception, and that was on June 18th itself, from 11 to 1 at City Hall. And everyone was so proud to show off City Hall and everything else. And it was just a huge, huge celebration. It wasn't an anticlimax. It was just plain a huge celebration. We had over at Heron Creek Country Club, we had a 50th anniversary dinner. All right. And it was so much fun. I remember the one thing that we did, we put together questionnaires as we went through things like, by that point, Northport Bank, which is now Wachovia. Okay. No, now Wells Fargo. Okay. It had 4 names in between. What were they? All right. Name all the city clerks in order. Now Bank of America, which started out as Barnett Bank. There were 4 different names in there. Name them. Okay. So we put together all of this. Who was the names of all the people that were Santa Claus? And of course, Guy and Lois Davis was a great one for that, because they did that a lot. My father and mother, Irma and Herman Gressens, did it. And those were the ones that did it the most. But Guy and Lois Davis were the main ones. They did it for the moose, and they did it for all the they had before Christmas. They would come along with a car thing all around Northport. And it was really a great celebration. So we had those kind of questions.
Joan, we have audience members actually watching, and they're asking some questions.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah. James Hawkins, I'm going to address things that you're posting up here. This is a series, just in case you're tuning in right now. We are doing a timeline history of the city of Northport. Speaking as Joan Morgan, the Morgan Family Center is named after Joan and her husband Ed and their family. We started in 1959 on the series. In the series, if we can make it through a year at a time or 2 years, this is the 11th show. The radio station has figured out a way to do archiving, so we'll be able to get that up. If you're tuning in, many of these shows are on Facebook, and the last few ones are on YouTube also. So just in case our audience is out there and you're really interested in the history of the city of Northport, through Joan Morgan's research, along with her husband, Ed, and Jean Matthews, and many other people have contributed to this history timeline. And if you see anything out there or know of anything that we're missing, please reach out to Joan. Joan's information I'm going to bring up on the screen right now for everybody to have. It's Joan Morgan, 941-875-8996, emjm67@yahoo.com. I'm glad to see that there are people out there interested in the history of the city of Northport. And today's a show and tell day because Joan is actually showing some of the centennial things. And I think that as long as Joan can stay on, we're going to talk a little bit longer. We're going to try to get to more than 2 years because I'm going on vacation. I need some more material to put up there. But we also want to show the video of the centennial for all of you. And that's a 13-minute video that tells about the history all the way from the beginning, all the way through that the city of Northport put together. So, Joan, let's continue and see if we can make it through 2009, and then we'll continue. We'll show the video and do another show if we're up to it. Okay.
Okay, yeah, we are here as an example. I know this can't be seen either, but here's an example of all the businesses and everything. So even though you can't see it at all, but you can see it is extensive. So it was just about everyone in Northport contributing to this. And it was capped off. One of the highlights, of course, was a parade that we had. We've never had another parade like this in town. I don't know if we ever will have another parade like this in town. We had the Clydesdale from Budweiser. I mean, come on, that was huge. Okay, I know they've been there for the Braves Stadium now, so we've had them twice in our area. But this definitely was a first, and it was magnificent. So basically, I'll tell you what, that bicentennial, I know we just had our 60th anniversary because now we're at 62 years. All right. And we didn't do as much for the 60th, but for the 50th, this stuff is still around. All right. This book is still relevant. So maybe when our centennial comes, and hopefully when our centennial comes, we don't have COVID or anything like that around, because really the Sarasota County got ripped off this year. They had so much planned. All right. And we were supposed to be up at Spanish Point. We were supposed to be at meetings once a month and that for the last 2 years almost for meetings and all this stuff. But guess what? COVID, all got canceled and everything else. It's too bad. But anyway, our city and basically maybe we should almost show that now because we're kind of done with the bicentennial.
Well, it's a 13-minute video and it'll take us over. So we'll start out the next show showing the video.
Okay. That's not a problem. That's not a problem. Okay. So that's good. All right. The Clydesdale and that parade, let me tell you something. That was the biggest thing in town. I don't think there was anyone in Northport that wasn't there that day. I mean, you just really needed to be there that day. Another thing that happened in 2009, because we're making it through 2009, is going to be a tribute, and the tribute was to Mike Metrione. And this is a tribute. It wasn't just a simple tribute, all right? Henry Jackamer, who, Mr. Fireworks, who's done all the fireworks and all, Mike was a stepdad, but he was more of a dad than just about anybody was to anybody, to him and to Lois Kozak and all this stuff. And basically, after he passed away, Mike wanted to celebrate and wanted people to celebrate. Now, Henry doesn't do anything small, all right? And what he did, and he had us get together, everyone who's ever lived in Northport. I mean, every plumber, every electrician, because Mike was in the air conditioning business. So everyone, which was roofing, the ones, the sanitation workers, the ones that worked at City Hall, we had a list of over 800. All right. And Lois Kozak and I spent months trying to find these people. And a lot of them we found out were dead. I mean, this list was forever and ever. And he had them go. We had a date at the down at the now the Charlotte Stadium. All right. And he paid for everything. He paid for everyone to go and see a baseball game. He did all the fireworks and he provided all the food. I mean, food for 800. You are talking about massive food for Michelangelo's restaurant and all that he provided and he paid for. But guess what happened? Mother Nature was not nice to him that day. We had a cloudburst like you would not believe. So basically, there were so many pans of food that people just took home the whole pot of food. It was just unbelievable. But we still had the fireworks. And that was, I don't know if we'll ever have a celebration like that again with everyone that ever existed in Northport. And we contacted every family. Another thing, and this is my last show and tell for the bicentennial. Voila. Okay. See this here? This was along the 41. Okay. This was the sign. Here again is our information. Yesterday's dream, today's reality, tomorrow's promise. City of Northport 50th, and there's that picture which we all got to love so much. And that was along. All of these were along 41. All right, on the light poles. All right, and what they did after the centennial, we took them down and they framed them for the members of the committee. All right. And so that's where, yep, this hung someplace out on 41. So this was kind of, because I'll tell you what, that committee worked hard. We were at this for years. Okay. And it wasn't easy. And we didn't always agree. And there was money issues that we had to work with and everything else. So, this was something that we did. And this is something that the city did. And that was a really nice tribute. So let's see what else we have in 2009. If I have anything else in 2009 before 2009.
How about the summer running?
Huh?
The summer running.
The summer running series. Okay, yeah, and let me tell you, I got them right here. Okay, the summer running series. And let me tell you something. You know how long it took us to set up the summer running series? About a half hour. Okay. Ed and I got together with Jim Chapo, who was then working for the YMCA. All right. And Jim, said, this is a good idea that we should have. And we say, that's a great idea. And we set up this course, and it was around Dallas White Park. All right. Which is not the easiest place or the best place to have a running course. And basically, here's how we set it up. We set it up with a 1 mile run there. And we got the ribbons. Again, we, had nothing, but we did it, and we did what we could. And basically what we did, if kids came to 3 out of 5 of them, they got a trophy. All right. They got a T-shirt. And, at the end, we had a pool party at the YMCA pool. Now, one thing that didn't turn out good and all this kind of stuff is the fact that we're talking summer and rain. All right. So in all the years that we've had this running series, it wasn't that everyone got to be used, and that was too bad. The summer series, we did it in Dallas White Park for about 5 years. And then we changed it because that park really just was not conducive to it. And we took it over to Ann Deaver Park because the Zoomer Running Club is the one that kind of took control over it, because they were really the running club for not just Northport, but Englewood, Port Charlotte, and Venice. So it went over to Ann Deaver Park, and then it came back to Northport, and it was at by the Morgan Center. Now, this is before the Aquatic Center. This was when that was all grass over there, and it was there for years. And at the end of each one, we had popsicles and everything else, and they made it really nice for kids. And it was good because what we had, it wasn't just a running series for the kids for a mile. Their parents went with them. Okay. It was a night for parents and kids to get together. And we had it over at the Morgan Center over that area until a couple years ago, because they were going to be building the Aquatic Center. So we moved it from there, and then it went to Imagine School. All right. And Imagine School, added on to it was Marty and Doug Stetter, who were also the one of the big coordinators of Zoomers. And also a big help with that series was the Imagine Young Marines. Oh my gosh, what a group. They were so phenomenal in helping the kids and setting up the course. And so this series, which didn't cost parents anything, all right, the kids got to wear the bib, they got a shirt, and at the end, and this is because of the kindness and the generosity and the determination of a few people to make it happen, they had food for the kids and their parents. It was like a night out. One night was Chick-fil-A, one night was hamburgers, one night was pizza, one night was hot dogs. And they had not only that, they had bounce houses. All right. So and this was free for the kids, and they got trophies and they got ribbons and they felt good about themselves, and encouraged them to do activities and all. So, here again is the heart and soul of Northport. All right. And the Zoomers Running Club has done so much. Now it's gone from Imagine, went back from Imagine, it's back to Andover Park. So I don't know where the running series will go next, but we got to remember, and let me tell you something, and this is kind of an interesting thing to begin with, because I kept all the records to begin with. And a lot of the people that first were in that running club, okay, guess what? They weren't from Northport. We had more people coming from Englewood because they had nothing there. More people coming from Englewood than came out from Northport to be part of that running series. All right. From Port Charlotte, Englewood was number one. Northport was the second numbers, and Port Charlotte was the third highest number of people coming. So for us to take it over to Englewood, because that was where a lot of the kids were coming from, was not really a nasty thing to do. That was something that we really should have done. Okay. So another very interesting and very important thing that happened. It has benefited a lot of kids. Now, here's the deal. It always ended with the 4th of July race, which the city always ran. We had the racing series, the 5 weeks, as soon as school got out, okay, 5 weeks and to the 4th of July. Now, the kids that ran the race, if they ran 3 out of 5, okay, they got a trophy. If they ran in the firecracker race, okay, besides being in the racing series, they got a second trophy. Okay, so I mean, what a great deal. I mean, what a great deal for everybody. So those, you talk about everything that has happened in Northport, but basically, I'm glad we spent an hour on 2009 because
it was 2009. And just for anybody that's tuning in, we're going to be wrapping up 2009. Hang in there because we're going to stay on for another at least 40 minutes, right, Joan? Can you hang in there? Okay. Because we have a centennial video that the city put together to put out, and we want to show that to you all in this. And it is audio too, so it'll be great for the radio station. If you've just been tuning in, you're listening to Marie LaBrosse, Sleuthing Eye-Opening Tales of the Past, with my co-host for the history of the city of Northport timeline, Mrs. Joan Morgan. Thank you so much, Joan, and we'll take a pause right now for any of you that need to go out and get a drink. But all right. Joan and I are actually going to continue with this. And don't forget, let me see here. Don't forget the scrapbook. Was there a scrapbook made for the 2009? No. Okay. Well,
no, there really wasn't much for it. I mean, there's a lot of people. I just saw Dory Chalmers Mill's name up there, and she was a member of the committee also. Nancy Wozni was a member of the committee. Abraham from the library, all sorts of people were in this committee and contribute a lot. And truly, go look on our timeline when it's up. Go look in the book, if you have the history book in that, and you'll find all the people that was part of the committee.
Right, exactly. So, Joan, let's continue on. And if you're just tuning in right now, you're listening to WKDW 97.5 FM Rural Community Radio. I'm Marie LaBrosse. I am your host of Sleuthing Eye-Opening Tales of the Past, and my co-host is Mrs. Joan Morgan. The Morgan Family Center is named after her and her husband Ed and their family. And Joan has been here since 1972. She is a retired history teacher, and she loves history. And she's on the history committee for the city of Northport too, but this is done separately. We're doing the history for the people out there to really realize through her voice, because she lived here through a lot of this, what she has seen through her own eyes, and she knew most of these people. Actually, from 1972 and on, you knew pretty much everybody here. Now, Joan, as it's a centennial of the Sarasota County, and because you were asked the county was, the city of Northport was asked to put together a video of the history of the city of Northport and how it developed through this time. I think this is the appropriate time for us to show that video, correct?
I think so. I'll tell you what, how it came about is because, as I said before, so much stuff that they had planned. I mean, we have our heroes in Northport, okay? They certainly have their heroes. Bertha Palmer, oh my gosh, that woman's life, you could spend years, years and years and years just reading all the things that she did. And when you see the streets like Honore named after her son, and know that Mayaca River Estates was actually just her horse farm and all that kind of stuff. And all of the big people that really made Sarasota become a county. Now, what happened was, as I say, we're supposed to have all these meetings and all these things were supposed to happen, and they didn't happen because of COVID. So then it came down to the only thing we could do was submit a video. All right. And actually, we took it to the City of Northport Commission, and the City of Northport Commission from there had Josh Taylor, Laura Enzel, and I really don't know all the others because they put together this video, and they all should be thanked because they worked very hard. How do you put 60 years of history together in 13 minutes?
Yeah, absolutely. I was having trouble bringing it up like we were trying to do off air. So keep on talking, Joan, as I get it cued here.
Okay, so this video, it starts, and you got to realize if you're talking about Northport, every single person seeing this video is going to say, wait a minute, they should have had this, they should have had that. But you got to look at the overall. And basically, you have to start with Warren Middle Springs, because when you're talking about Northport, that's the only thing that's a worldwide thing. You know, everyone has schools, everyone has department stores, everyone has this, that, and the other thing, but no one else has a Warren Middle Springs. So that's the only thing that the Europeans and all of those know Northport for. So therefore, actually, that has to be our prime jewel that we have to show off. Yeah. You know, as I say, we are, everyone can have their own ideas about what should be there, what shouldn't be there. But I think they did a fantastic job, and my hats are off to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we're bringing this up, because I am having some difficulty here okay, I think we're ready. Here we go.
The City of Northport is excited to commemorate Sarasota County's centennial celebration. While being the youngest city in the county, Northport's rich history dates back quite a while. In 1954, the General Development Corporation bought tens of thousands of undeveloped acres, which would become Northport Charlotte and Port Charlotte. Lots were marked for $10 down and $10 a month. Northport and its 104-plus square miles became a separate city in 1959, later changing to just Northport in 1974. Starting with around 200 residents, the city is now the largest in Sarasota County with nearly 80,000 residents. Nearly 2 decades ago, Northport expanded into the area now known as West Villages and Welland Park. In May of 2014, a partnership including Mattamy Homes and Vanguard Land and other developers invested about $100 million to purchase approximately 9,600 acres that represented the remainder of the former Berry and Taylor family ranch. This became West Villages, later renamed Welland Park. Residents have a median age of 44, which includes more than 12,000 school-aged children. Recent history and ancient, War Mineral Springs Park has been claimed to be the original fountain of youth sought by Spanish explorer Ponce de Leon. What we know for a fact is that prehistoric remains of humans, giant sloths, saber-toothed cats, and more have been discovered here, dating back more than 10,000 years. Today, thousands visit the park from all over the world to enjoy the water. More on that shortly. Northport's history is just one part of what makes it such a great area, an area which has come a long way and continues to thrive in Sarasota County, a city where you can achieve anything. The city of Northport has more than 24 parks, most dog-friendly, offering more than 400 acres of parkland, 3 recreational areas, numerous programs and special events, more than 80 miles of freshwater canals, 1 state park, and access to Charlotte Harbor from the Myakka River. There are hundreds of opportunities to get involved and enjoy the benefits of a city focused on enriching the life experiences of its residents. As mentioned previously, War Mineral Springs has been around for a long time. The only natural springs in Florida that maintains a constant temperature of 85 degrees year-round, believed to contain more than 50 minerals, some of the highest mineral-rich contents of any natural springs in the United States. In more recent times, the park provides visitors with a number of therapeutic and passive recreation options, with anaerobic and highly mineralized properties. Internationally known for its purported healing qualities, the park attracts more than 100,000 visitors annually and journey to soak in its waters. The city of Northport has developed a master plan with future improvements on the horizon.
3, 2, 1.
Other aquatic features too. The Northport Aquatic Center is decades in the making. The $12.5 million facility opened for business in October 2019. Soak up tons of fun as you slide, splash, and swim. Chill on the Relaxahatchee Lazy River or in the heated competition pool. Enjoy a sweet treat from the Sand Dollar Snack Shack. Earn your stripes on the Barracuda Blast, Drop Slide, or just let the kids splash the day away on the Pelican Splash Ground. Staff also offers swimming lessons to help keep our residents safe year-round and around our many waterways. You can also head over to the Atwater Splash Pad for something a little simpler. Entry is free and the water is, well, wet. Other parks include the Garden of Five Senses, which includes the Boundless Adventure Playground. The playground is designed for children with sensory and developmental challenges, making sure all of our youth have something to keep them active. The Morgan Family Community Center offers some great opportunities. The 33,000 square foot facility opened in June of 2011 as a state-of-the-art multi-purpose complex featuring 12,000 square feet of gymnasium space, fitness center, studio, teen lounge, game room, multi-purpose room, meeting space, art room, commercial kitchen, and an outdoor patio area. Outside the facility is a large playground, lighted basketball courts, trails, and picnic shelter. The facility was named for the Ed and Joan Morgan family. Down the road, you'll find the George Mullen Activity Center, conveniently located close to Northport City Hall. The George Mullen Activity Center, commonly referred to as GMAC, opened in 1998. A 12,500 square foot community center, it is named after former Commissioner George D. Mullen. The facility offers a gymnasium and multi-purpose flooring and stage, fitness center, meeting rooms, and a commercial kitchen. Out front, patrons can find a playground and sand volleyball court. Just behind the facility are athletic fields, home to the Northport Mustangs Pop Warner program. In combination, the community centers offer after-school activities as well as a full-service summer camp for local children. A number of passive places, too, from the Myakka Creek Environmental Park to the Myakka State Forest. The environmental park includes approximately 160 acres. The park provides an old Florida nature experience with winding rusted paths, footbridges, wooden trails, overlook, pavilion, and more. Activities at the park include birding, hiking, horseback riding, and biking. The park is also home to the Myakka Creek Connector Bridge, which connects the park to Sarasota County's Carlton Reserve and its tens of thousands of acres. The 8,000-plus acre state forest managed by the Florida Forestry Service is home to several miles of nature trails and lies entirely within the city of Northport. The forest includes miles of frontage along the Myakka River, boat ramp on the river leads to one of a handful of primitive campgrounds in the forest. Beneath the water's surface is a range of native fish species, including snook, mangrove snappers, saltwater catfish, and the occasional shark. Want something with a crowd? Cool Today Park opened on March 24th, 2019. It is the spring training home to the Atlanta Braves Major League Baseball team. The complex hosts other local and regional sporting events too, funded by Sarasota County, the city of Northport, Wallen Park, Mattamy Homes, and the state of Florida. The venue has already become a fan favorite of things to do year-round. Northport is educated too within the traditional Sarasota County School District. The city has 6 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, and 1 high school. Adding one more option to each grade level is the Imagine Charter Schools, including that second high school option. The city also includes the Suncoast Technical College, and the city of Northport surrounds the State College of Florida. Education also includes the arts, a thriving arts scene within schools spilling out into areas such as the Northport Arts Center and the Northport Performing Arts Center, where you can catch the Northport Choral, Concert Band, and Symphony. Perhaps youth sports are more your thing. The city has many local organizations for kids of varying ages and a wide variety of programs. There are many park and recreation-run sports leagues, classes, and competitions. The city has other activities like golf, off-road biking, and kayaking along the Blue Way trails, to name a few. There are many local organizations in our community doing good. Those with organizations like VFW, AMVETS, Ukrainian American Veterans, American Legion, and more. Seniors can also join the Senior Center and take part in several weekly activities. Don't forget the many houses of worship in the city providing services and fellowship. Retail therapy is also an option in Northport. There are hundreds of small businesses dotted around the city, with some having been in business since the city corporation. You can also find the latest and greatest in trends at the Cocoa Plum Village shops. Business opportunities are also available in the Toledo Blade industrial area. The Northport Area Chamber of Commerce also offers some great support for those running and starting a local business. You got to eat, right? There are several local family-owned restaurants which have been around for decades, like the Old World Restaurant, in place for more than 30 years. You can also find popular chains with varying levels of cuisine readily available. If all of that is not enough to do, don't forget the city hosts many annual and traditional events: Halloween Trick-or-Treat at City Hall, Poinsettia Parade and Festival, Freedom Festival, Remember the Fallen 5K, National Night Out, egg hunts, and much more. For all stages of life, Northport has something to offer your health. The city has a wide range of medical practices and a standalone emergency care center. There are also a handful of selections for nursing and assisted living.
What is your emergency?
Our full-service city is made up of many great people who help make the city run. The Northport Police Department has a triple Excelsior rating through the Commission for Florida Law Enforcement Accreditation. Only 14 agencies out of more than 400 in the state of Florida have this prestigious rating, which demonstrates an exceptional commitment to law enforcement standards. Northport has some of the lowest crime rates compared to a city its size across the state. Northport has been named one of the safest cities to live in consistently in surveys and studies. It has also been acknowledged as having some of the best interactions through community policing, both online and through in-person outreach efforts nationally. Northport Fire Rescue is also one of the best you can find. After an extremely comprehensive analysis and review by the Insurance Service Office, ISO, Northport Fire Rescue has a Public Protection Class 1 designation. That means Northport Fire Rescue is rated in the top 1% of all fire departments nationwide for fire protection services. That's out of more than 41,000 departments. Northport Fire Rescue is a full-service career department offering fire suppression, advanced life support, emergency medical services, disaster preparedness, response and recovery, and fire prevention functions. The fire department gets a lot of help from our friends in utilities when it comes to water. The city's utility department maintains hundreds of miles of underground piping, bringing water and sewer lines to tens of thousands of homes and businesses, and looking to expand the opportunity to more. The city's Neighborhood Development Services Department is taking in a record number of permits each year. The department helps to maintain the city's look and feel through code enforcement and helps plan for the future. Our Public Works Division helps keep storm water where it should be, our roads smooth, trash and recycling materials processed, to name a few highlights. The Economic Development Division is also working hard for all the businesses mentioned and bringing in new ones, giving a boost to businesses and working to make sure Northport is able to bring in as many good-paying jobs as possible. Those are just a few of the many departments and divisions keeping the city running efficiently and smoothly. You can find many of them around the Northport City Hall campus. City Hall itself is a 3-story cracker-style building located on City Hall Boulevard. The structure has been the epicenter of government life since it first opened in April of 2006. Inside, you can even find employees like Donna Suggs, who donates her time and decorations to deck out City Hall seasonally. Don't want to miss it. As the county hits the century mark, the city of Northport shows no signs of letting up. With tens of thousands of lots still available to build on, the city will continue to expand. New safety complexes and facilities are already on the way. Businesses continue to come in droves. It's a place that is too big to ignore in a county now 10 decades old. A city where you can achieve anything and is doing just that for now, for hundreds of years to come.
Wow, Joan. Yeah. Were you able to hear the sound all the way through?
Yes.
Okay, because I didn't know, because on my end, I always hear it, and I don't know. Sometimes I am muted myself, and hopefully that didn't screw it up. In case you're just tuning in, you're listening to WKDW 97.5 FM out of the Bishop West Real Estate Tower. And one of the things is, if you were listening to this, we were playing a video, and you can go to our Facebook or YouTube channel, Facebook page, which is KDW Radio Facebook page, my own personal one, in case you're a friend of mine, but also WKDW 97.5 FM. We have a YouTube channel also, and you're able to go and see this. And Joan and I have been doing a series. Joan Morgan is with me, the Ed and Joan Morgan, the Morgan Family Center, which talked about it in the video, is named after Joan Morgan, who is my co-host with me on this series about the city of Northport's history on a timeline. So Joan, I think, it's really hard to put, in a 15-minute video, that timeline. I think they kind of hit really kind of a good overview of
yeah, I tell you what, it's so hard. And everything in here, we're standing and talking about it, and I don't know all the people that put that together. I don't know their names because it was done by the city and it was put out to the staff, so I don't even know who to thank. And also, just before it went on, I saw something down there about a scrapbook for Northport, and the thing is, I'm not sure. I think, and that'd be Dory Chalmers Mills, I think, is the one that worked on that. And her name was down there. And thank you for your work on it. And if that scrapbook exists, I'd love it to be at City Hall or have it or whatever. Because remember, not only are we doing this, but we're eventually going to have a place to house this stuff in City Hall or at Warren Mineral Springs, and anything we need. Now, I'll tell you one thing that I found out, and this was just the other day, and Helen Marchese brought me over to the Education Center because she found scrapbooks about the opening and the setting up and the building of the Churchill Education Center. phenomenal. I don't know who put them together, but someone talking about putting together a scrapbook did a great job. And this, is going to be kept at the Education Center. And hopefully someday we are talking about possibly a lot of this stuff ending up at Warren Middle Springs, or wherever. But, we're not trying to leave anybody out. And we did not mention everyone who was connected with the 50th. I'm trying to get them all in this timeline. I mentioned them all, but people came in and out of the committee. Some worked on this area, some worked on that area. Just listing everyone's name and everything else is really hard to not leave somebody out. But anyway, we thank everyone. We thank everyone who worked on this video. There's so much to say about Northport. There's so much to say, and there's so much we want to say, but I think they did a great job.
They really did. Joan, as you're talking about that, because we have social media now, and at that time, it was just coming in when 2009 was happening, when the bicentennial was going on. One of the things that I've noticed out on social media currently, and we're talking the year 2021 here, I am seeing where people are moving into the area and they're asking people, well, where should I live? Should I live in Northport? Should I live in Port Charlotte? Should I live in Punta Gorda? Oh, and then some people are saying like Cape Coral or Fort Myers. And I see the tendency of people that are newer here that are looking at it, through those lenses. But you and I have both lived here a long time. You've been here since 72. I've been here since 87. So we've seen a lot of growth and the different things going on. And I recommended to this person that was looking like at Northport and at Port Charlotte, what I did recommend was where to live. I just was recommending and giving some education of what's happening in each area. Because truthfully, if I was moving into this area, I don't know, because like I've said in the past, I'm the Murdoch Village CRA chair. I know what's happening in the Westport portion of Port Charlotte, in the Murdoch Village area there. That is a center road, crossroads for going to Northport, to going to Englewood, and with the development there, and we're still on track for the Arredondo Point Water Park there. So there'll be, it's being built by the same people that did the one at Universal Studios.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So it's the same developer there, and I've seen the rendering of what they're looking at, even a 5,000 seat amphitheater, outdoor amphitheater. And I said to them, that's going to be too small. You need something larger. So we need to have something large enough in this area to have huge concerts, even, because right now I think that they can go into like the Atlanta Braves Cool Today Park for some of that, but I don't think it's really what they're looking for doing concerts. Mm-hmm. Isn't that part of the program problem that we've seen, Joan, too, is in the growth, even in the city of Northport, and that to have locations to have big events?
We don't have places. We just saw that with, we had a tropical storm come through, Elsa, okay? And what did we have to do? We had to close down City Hall because we had to have a command center in room 244, which is the only one area that can tape meetings, okay? And so we had to close down that. For a lot of groups couldn't have their meetings. We had to close the Morgan Center because that was being used as a shelter area for dogs, cats, and people from the estates area. We need bigger areas. We have the Performing Arts Center that can't house everything that we need it to house. That's for sure. We absolutely need more areas. And when I see Northport, think about, and I'm going to put it in the essays that I've read from kids, why they like Northport. It's clean. People are friendly. You can still find some woods. Of course, they all think they've seen panthers out there and everything else. But on the other hand, there's still friendliness. There's still calmness. It's not I don't want it to become New York City. Okay. I mean, really, there's still kind of a gentle caring. I think of the caring community with Jacqueline Moore and all of those. We still have so many groups that care. Kiwanis and all they do. I mean, it's just, we have people that really put themselves out, volunteer their time, and care. And when I think about our future, why wouldn't you want to be around here? With Westport going down to Port Charlotte and Welland Park going up towards Venice, what is this area going to explode into in the next 10 years? Can you imagine if you right now could go forward and see 10 years from now, all right, and what we will have? All right, it'll take them.
That's what I'm looking at too, as we're off topic right now. We're going to talk a little bit about this because I love the arts. And one of the things that I'm involved in right now, I'm on the board of directors for the Northport Arts Center, but I'm also on the board of directors for the WKDW 97.5, which is really the Community Broadband Radio Association. And the Northport Arts Center is actually the Northport Art Guild. So when you look out there for those 501c3s, that's what we're under. And one of the things that I want to see in Northport, you do have the symphony and you do have the concert band and you do have the chorale. They're tied into the Northport Performing Art Association. They're tied into the Northport Performing Center. But we did that in one of our previous shows that we talked about this. We need a multi-purpose building that is owned not by the city, not by the school, that we can have things. And we're having a great big event January 15th for 2022 for the Northport Arts Center and all the arts in the city of Northport to showcase to people what we do have here. And we're looking for people to elevate it because we need that building. We've been given notice at the Northport Arts Center that the city will be taking that building back and they're going to be doing a P3 whatever in that area. And it's time. And we have to have this event up at the Plantations, the Plantations Golf and Country Club in South Venice, because there's no facility that you can serve alcohol that's not owned by the school or not owned by the city, that you can have an event in the city of Northport. And that's one of the things that I am so glad to see. Welland Park, they're going to be doing groundbreaking August 18th for doing their city downtown center called Welland Downtown City Center, I think is the name of it. And right now is the time for you, the audience and people, to get involved with this because it's the right time. We're in the right place to move forward, and you can achieve anything, Joan. Right?
Right.
The motto of the city of Northport is achieve anything. And that's what we can do. And one person can't do it. You have to do it as a group of people, as a village, as a city, move forward, and everybody with the same forward thinking. It's okay to have dissension on some parts, but to come together as consensus.
We have so much. We just, you named it. You had to go to Plantation. What do we have in Northport? And I'm not being critical because I'm so thankful for Heron Creek Country Club because that has hosted many things, but it can't host everything. So we had to have the alternate prom and things like that up at Plantation and all. And even our academic achiever awards that we had from Northport High School for several years, they were done at the Plantation. All right. The ACE program. And then the last year, it was done down in Charlotte County at the Memorial Center because we didn't have a place here to do it. So yes, you are so right. And when you talk about the Art Center, when you see that whole area, look at San Pedro or Sam Shapo's area there. Look at where the old pool used to be. Look at where the clothes closet is. Look at the Art Center. Picture that whole area 10 years from now. What is that going to look like? I don't know. But I guarantee you, we're not going to see the buildings that we presently see there. I would have liked to see that whole area, the firehouse be someplace else, and that whole area continue to be park. I would love to see something big there. I'd love to see, at one point they talked about the pool becoming a splash pad, which we certainly could use. We need another splash pad over on the other side of Toledo Blade and all this stuff. Yeah, there is so much. And art is a very important part of Northport, part of our identification. And some people move to Northport or this area, and it's the arts that they want. Some come because they want the kayaking. Some come because they want to be near the Brave Stadium. There's all sorts of reasons, but arts is definitely one of those reasons. So definitely keep pushing for the arts. They're very, very important.
We are. And if you look around town now, you're seeing murals starting to go up. And on the Quality TV, thank goodness for them. That was one of the first 1,000 Days initiative that's put on by the first 1,000 Days. It's a nonprofit up out of Sarasota, and they chose different areas. And Laura Palmier was one of the people chosen to do she did the rendering and then put it to the building. And if you go by, that's one of the first murals that is going to be probably a series of different ones, because I know that we're working on something else in the area. And then at the Welland Park Center, Laura Palmier just did a mural of all these different native floral on the front there. And if you go into the Welcome Center at Welland Park, which is up by the Brave Stadium, if you go there, go into the building, they have a lovely cafe within there. It's very Zen feeling. And the Northport Art Center has their arts in public places there. They actually that's one of the locations that you can go and see some of the artwork that's done by local artists.
The murals are so important. Look at Punta Gorda. Oh my gosh, the murals are phenomenal. I love them. And you know what they have down there? They try to put forth, I don't know if they got to do it or not, but I know they were trying a mural race where you have a shirt with the pictures of all the various murals on. I knew I've seen it, and I know they worked on it. And what they were going to do is have a race. You can use bikes or whatever, because you got to go down to Ponce de Leon Park and a lot of different places. So you can't run every place. But anyway, it was to go to all these different murals and have a stamp signed at each one of the murals and all, and see all of them. I mean, that makes Punta Gorda. It's phenomenal. And I would love to see us follow that tradition and have it, Northport, Welland Park, all our areas. Phenomenal idea.
And it tells the history of the city of Punta Gorda when you go there. I used to do trolley tours there, and then Greg just recently sold the trolley, but I did mural tours. I know the history of them, not like Kelly Gaylord, who's executive director of the Mural Society there, but each one of those murals in Punta Gorda that is part of the Mural Societies is a historic mural. There's a story behind it. Is there a story why that mural is up in that area? And I just love the history. When you look at a mural, it tells a story.
There's such a rich history in Punta Gorda. I think of Gussie Baker and all of those people so involved in the Desquins and all of the families. I mean, fantastic people, fantastic, Vernon Peoples, I mean, and it's just wonderful. And you are right. Those murals, I love looking at them. I love them.
I loved driving around and telling the history. To explain to people what they're about. And that's why, like with the city of Northport, you can achieve anything. What is your vision? And Joan, in the last show that we did, not the previous one, but the one before, number 10, in that one, we were talking about there's no bowling alleys, there's no movie theaters in Northport, no indoor skating rinks, or there is so many opportunities for growth that your vision can become reality.
And it can be out of the park. For
Yeah.
example, go look at the ice skating rink that we have not too far from us up there. That they took third place in the Olympics
Yeah.
by the outlet malls.
Yeah, the
Okay.
Ellington.
I mean, yeah. Who would think an ice skating rink in Florida would make it? And yet, people who worked out there were in the Olympics, and they came in third place. I mean,
And Tampa Bay Lightning won the Stanley Cup. The
Yeah.
Everblades down in Fort Myers. Hockey is truthfully a big thing here. Ice skating is a big thing. Even over in Florida, that's still an opportunity for anybody out there. If you're coming from up north and that's what you did and you loved it, why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
We did a whole study once when Aaron Bryce was here and my granddaughters, Brooke and Summer Fisher, about an indoor skate rink. And we talked about that, and that would have been over where the Waffle House, Taco Bell, 7-Eleven. We were thinking of that whole area because I always wanted that to be arts, gazebos, walks, things for the city. And we talked about, and we went and got all the statistics about building a skating rink there. Man, it takes a lot of money.
It takes a lot of money. Even doing a building, because we were working with the Sarasota Players, because they're now called the Players Center of Sarasota. And it's taking, I think, $13 million of what they're doing up in the Lakewood Ranch area. So we have this figure in our mind that we know what it's going to take to build what we need to have here. But why not? Why not create? Somebody has to do it.
Yep.
Maybe we don't have the money, but we have the ingenuity. And there are people out there that have done this before, and we welcome them into the fold to actually help move forward.
And we still need to work for the hospital and some of the things that we've been talking about forever. So we have a long way to go.
Joan, when you're talking about that, and you know that I'm part of the Murdoch Village CRA, there was a group coming in because there's a piece of property and that we have two different developers that are going after in the Murdoch Village, and it's the last piece of the pie there, besides the commercial property, but the piece of the pie there for residential and development. And one of the organizations was wanting to put some health things in there.
Yep, I read about that.
Oh, they've had it in the paper.
Yeah.
Okay, well, they also wanted to bring in where they're doing experimentation and stuff in that area. And I brought up Northport because I go, the city of Northport does not have a hospital. And the people in the room, not these people that were developing, but the other people knew that, no, the city of Northport doesn't have this, and they really, really do need something. And I guess some of the laws have changed now, so it may be a possibility for the city of Northport to get something there, but you have to have somebody like a developer of some sort within that hospital area to want to put something there. And truthfully, why would they not want to now with the growth that's going on within the city limits? It's estimated 250,000 people will be living there within the next 5 to 10 years.
Absolutely. Now that we got the Florida Cancer Center, now that might be another big spoke. And we have to put it all together. And eventually, when we have enough of those spokes ready to go, we can move forward. And we're not there. We're not there. But, there's got to be some big planners seeing this as the land of opportunity, because we truly are poised to be the big breakout area. And we have broke out, but we're going to be breaking out a lot bigger than we are right now.
Joan, this is where I was, this is where I have a wish that I was younger.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Both you and I are in our 70s, and I have the vision, and so do you. But do we have the energy to take it that far?
No, I don't have it all now. But you know what? I mean, I can't feel like I'm kind of in a unique place because Ed and I were here and we were young. We were in our 20s when we started, and a lot of these things needed to happen. So therefore, a lot of these things, which a lot of the people that I've talked about, that have helped so much and have done so much, some of them are still here, but a lot of them aren't. Some have moved, but unfortunately, a lot of them have died. And it's too bad that they never got to see the vision that they wanted so badly happen. It's too bad that Ziggy Pertamersing, who struggled so hard to start soccer here, I would love him to see all the soccer fields we have now and all the leagues that we have and everything else. I mean, and he worked harder than anybody to make this happen. I mean, he truly did. His daughter will say how she used to be sitting on her dad's shoulders, knocking in the boards and that to build the soccer goals and all. So, I mean, yeah, I hope when we have our centennial in 2059, I'd love to be here and know that I'm here. Okay. And really see it happen because, we've come so far and I'm proud of what we've done. And I'm proud of everyone. And if we haven't mentioned your name or anything, we're proud of you. And please, as we said, give us the information. Call me, email me, get us the information because you're not down on this list, not because we don't want you, because we don't know about you. But I'm hoping that there are other scrapbooks and that out there, like Helen Marchese showed me from the Education Center. I never knew until the other day that these existed. You should see them. They're phenomenal. You'd love them. Okay. And it's got everything. It's got almost every brick going up, and here's one the other day because they were talking about the clothes closet in Kiwanis and all this stuff. And Kiwanis found out, hey, they built the pavilion at Dallas White Park. And I'm going, of course you did. I remember that. You built the Scout House. We got the blocks for that. How did we get the blocks for that? Because at the time when General Development was building here, they weren't going to pick up if there's only a few blocks left at every site that they're on. So here's the deal we made with them. I made it with them. If there were 50 blocks or more, they'd come and pick them up, and they weren't ours. If there were 50 or less, okay, then we could have them. And we went around and collected those blocks, and we put them there in the park, and Kiwanis built the pavilion. That stuff should all be known. That's priceless. That's great. And then we had the blocks there that General Development finally built the dugouts because we got the blocks there for them. Actually, their own blocks from all their other sites. But, and we lost some too because some people who were building things during the middle of the night, they took some of the blocks that we collected. But that's the way life goes. Okay. But on the other hand, I mean, these are rich things, but there's so much richness still to be done. I mean, they're going to look back and say to us someday, boy, you guys, you were primitive still. But no, there's so much. Welland Park, unbelievable. They're taking their cue from Lakewood Ranch. And there's a lot of money there, and they're taking their cue from Disney's, and all of this kind of stuff. So, yeah, there is so many possibilities. And we're in the middle, Westport, Northport, Welland Park, and Englewood is going to start developing more. Once we have more roads out of Englewood, and because of the Brave Stadium, look at some of the housing centers going there. So, yeah, get River Road, 6 lanes, 4 lanes, and there's no end to what's going to happen here.
Yeah, and they're actually looking at that and also
absolutely
looking even into putting another bridge coming across the Mayaca there because they have to have locations to get people out because we do get hurricanes.
Absolutely, because I'll tell you what, I wouldn't want to been in Englewood during some of the storms. Yeah. And the other thing we got to keep on, and thank God we are the legacy trails coming through, because we have to provide for the bike riders, for the horses, for the people jogging, for the hiking trails. We have to provide places for people to get exercise, especially during COVID, man. We all needed to go out and find some fresh air where no one else was so we could walk around and get some vitamin D in our system. Okay. So, we have to, there's so many, the arts, the medical, the recreational, the educational. There's so many areas that we need to develop. So, you know what? It's an exciting time.
It is.
And,
It is.
and the best is possibly yet to be. So achieve anything. Send us your stuff. Give us your stuff. Don't be mad if your name isn't up here. Make sure we know it. Make sure what you did, and we'll put it in.
Absolutely. And I want to bring up on the screen right now, and for our listening audience, to get a hold of Joan Morgan. It's Joan Morgan. Her phone number is 941-875-8996. And her email, M like in Marie, J like in John, M like in Marie, 67 at yahoo.com. Again, EMJM 67 at yahoo.com, or you can always email me, Marie at kdwradio.com, and I'll get the information to Joan, because it's a work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
One person isn't expected to know everything about everything, because it's through your eyes, what you've seen, Joan, and through your research and yours and Ed's research and other people out there of material that you've gone through. And let's talk again about you digging through newspapers, about Gene Matthews and having, he had the first newspaper here. Correct?
It's amazing. Yes. And they are fragile. And again, here's Gene would love to have a storage place, a place where they can be recognized. He doesn't want to just keep them piled up in his garage. That's really not helping anybody. We need a historic center. And we're talking Warm Mill Springs. We're talking what we can do at City Hall, but we need areas, because a lot of our history, it's not the best kept right now, as we know. All right. And I'm sorry, but it's the truth. And it's very hard on the 50th committee. I know we worked very hard to find pictures and everything else. That's why when I saw those pictures at the education center, I was just astonished. Oh my gosh, someone kept every single picture and took pictures, because we really didn't take a lot of pictures in the past like we do now every 5 seconds. And so we need them. We beg you for them.
Yeah,
okay.
We didn't have the cell phones like we did.
No, we didn't have the cell phones, and everyone was busy doing their thing. We didn't take pictures. We just did not take pictures. And that's the way it goes. But Gene actually, has all that, but he would like a place where it could be so people could utilize it. That's what we want. We just don't want, for us to die with this information inside us and no one to ever hear it is not going to help anybody.
Joan, and I want to do a shout out to Gene Matthews, because I ran across his son Steve the other day. He said, we tuned in late, but we got to watch your show a little bit with Joan. I said, isn't that interesting? We want to get your dad on with Joan and I, because we're able to bring in people as long as you have the technology into the conversation. And you're welcome to reach out to Joan and myself. And if you have things to contribute and you want to tell your side of the history, you're welcome to come on. Absolutely. And
please do.
Yeah, because it'll be your voice and your story that you're telling it in. And that's what's so important about history, because you're part of history. People out there that live this and breathe it and put everything together. It's your story. It's your history. It's the city's history, and you're part of that history. And that's why it's so critical that we get it in the first person a lot of times on our history. Because when people tell history, Joan, they tell it in a version that they may have read or done research on, but it's not in a first person point of view. A lot of times we're very, very fortunate, because this is a first person point of view, a lot of this history, because you lived here, you were part of that history. So it's through your eyes and your view, and you've seen it. But there's other people out there that we would love to have on to tell their side, and we can hear the stories with Joan and the other people out there having an interaction. And I'll just sit in the background and not say anything, because that is what we want to see, is the stories of you.
Yeah, and Gene Matthews lived so much of it. We all had our living room meetings, because that's all we had. But his family, and actually Steve and his daughter Debbie, Diane doesn't live in town. She lives up in Tampa, the other daughter, but Steve and Debbie certainly have created their own history in Northport, and they've been very involved with the chamber. They've been very involved in a lot of groups, and they've lived here since they were little kids. So they too have, now they're in their 50s. So they certainly have lived 99% of their life here. And they certainly have been a part of so much, and so much history happened in their living room, for Pete's sake,
Absolutely. And Gene Matthews, for a lot of you people, if you haven't listened to our other shows, Gene Matthews is the only person that has been a county school board member and a county commissioner. You've only had one person,
right,
that just happens to be the same person with both. And so many people, well, who's this Gene Matthews? The Boys and Girls Club is now named after him. Who is the Morgan Family Center? Who are these Morgans? Well, you're looking at one of them, Joan Morgan. And that's so important because you can put a face with the people. You can see that they're real human beings and they did so much for the community. That's why those things are named after them. And Joan, I see that it'll be coming up in one of our next shows when the Morgan Center was actually named after your family. And we'll get into that history and that story at that time. Believe it or not, Joan, because of us showing the video, our time is up for the second show. We didn't get into another year, but we will do that on our next show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to us. This is Marie LaBrosse, Sleuthing Eye-Opening Tales of the Past, coming to you from WKDW 97.5 FM. Real community radio out of the city of Northport, from the Bishop West Real Estate Tower, who is our sponsor, and Joan Morgan. Always a pleasure to be my co-host on this wonderful series about the city of Northport's history. Thank you so much. And
thank you.
And thank you, everybody. See you again next week on Sleuthing Eye-Opening Tales of the Past. Bye-bye.